is Kyven Gadson.
Gadson's really wrestling with a lot of passion. I'm looking for some fireworks in this one.
At 197 pounds, Kyven is on a mission.
I'm Kyven Gadson, 2015 NCAA champ at 197 pounds, and this is my title. I got into wrestling through my dad. My dad was All-American at Iowa State, multiple-time All-American. My uncle was also All-American. I just was around it, but I didn't officially start practicing until 6. We have a video of us practicing on our living room floor.
This is Kyven's first lesson, baby. December 31st, 1998. The end of your first lesson from your dad. We have a long ways to go, but we'll get there, buddy.
As I grew up and got older, I really started to enjoy the one-on-one aspect of it. Freshman year to the next year, I went up to 145 pounds. I was a state runner-up that year. The rest of the high school, I went from 171 to 189. I won state titles my last 2 years going undefeated. I was pretty sold that I was going to continue to wrestle at Iowa State, and so I made that decision later in July of '09 to continue kind of in that legacy footsteps.
I knew Willie for a long time, and I knew of Kyven when Kyven was born and now he was growing up, and Willie would always sing praises of how good Kyven was as far as an athlete. When I got to Iowa State, I had 2 guys at the top of my recruiting board, Ryak Finch from Arizona and Kyven Gadson. Kyven probably was more important to me at that time because he was from Iowa, his dad was Willie, and we really were trying to put the pieces in place to have a championship program. And so Kyven was a guy that we earmarked for Iowa State. So I got to his home, introduced myself to him again, and we started talking about the recruiting process.
First match in Hilton Coliseum, I tear my shoulder in my first match. I just was like, just don't stop the match. Like, I'll figure out how to win. Like, we've done this before. I couldn't figure it out.
And so we were back to square one, and that's when it really started getting, pretty tough for him to understand what was going on, but I think he could not see how he was going to get through this surgery and then be at his best as far as what he wanted to accomplish at the college level.
That next year was tough. My parents revealed that my dad has stage 4 lung cancer. With that, it was just like another piece of life like hitting you. He basically told me he was ready to, fight cancer and essentially put on his wrestling shoes again just for a much tougher battle. Before he got sick, he was about 215, 230 pounds, and when I saw this picture of him, he was like 120 pounds. Before I left for the Big 12 tournament, I told him, hey, I'll be back with the Big 12, championship, and won the Big 12s. We drove back that night, get all the way up to Waterloo after we stopped in Ames, and I give him the Big 12 medal, and he passed away probably about an hour and a half later. So that's where the robe comes in. My mom gifted me the robe after he passed, and she put Kyven on one sleeve and Willie on the other, and then on the back it says Gadson, Gadson Legacy. The next year, I actually really wasn't enjoying wrestling. I went to Coach Jackson, I was like, I don't want to wrestle my junior year. I'm just not having fun with it, something's missing. When my dad got sick, I put that as my reason for wrestling, which had never been my reason for wrestling before. We had a tough conversation.
It's hard enough to win for yourself without winning for your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your university, your coach. Win for yourself and we just come along. You could see the change in his training. You could see the change in his mentality. You could see the change in how he competed. And he had a great year, and I think it was a reflection of that change.
Going into that 14-15 season, in my headgear, I put in something called Be Rare. It was like be relentless in terms of in pursuit of this goal, be aggressive, be resilient when things don't go your way, be someone that executes. And so I knew if I did those things, I didn't know I would win, but I knew I would have an opportunity to. I was very much like at peace walking into St. Louis. I wrote myself like a letter detailing all the things that I felt like I needed to do to dominate the tournament.
That letter always allowed him to get clear on what the mission was and to move in the direction that he knew he needed to go in and how he needed to compete to be at his best.
Going into the semis and Connor Hartman from Duke, and I get the takedown right away, and I try like the Gadson again, step around, and he did like something like real funky weird with his leg, where I was like, oh no, like whatever I felt, I don't want to feel that again. So I was just like, let me just keep him down. So I ended up winning that one 4-1. So I knew it was Cox and Snyder. He was the returning NCAA champ. Kyle was a true freshman. So I just thought Jaden probably had a little bit of an edge on him. Once we found out it was Kyle, felt really confident with that matchup.
Now, I got a little disappointed when I heard Snyder is the best and he'll never get beat again after he lost to Burak from Iowa in a duel. He'll never lose another match. He's gonna be one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, which actually turned out to be true. At the time, I didn't believe it, but I always took offense to that a little bit because I knew what I had in my room, and Kyven had beaten him during that year.
Gotta trust my training, trust all the work that's been put into this. It's been a long time, and so I just like to take a deep breath and tell myself I'm ready.
And they're like, well, you know, like, what do you want from the situation? I was like, well, like, this is kind of like the biggest stage outside of the Olympics that you can be on.
You got to think big, right? So a pin in the NCAA finals is that's what it's about for me. Is a pin in the NCAA finals.
That was one of the things, like Coach Jackson was like, yo, it's not his time yet. This is your last shot. He has multiple shots after this. Like, it's not his time yet. I remember I'm like walking around, like pacing back and forth, and I'm like, oh, like just like throwing out, trying to get rid of all like the nervous energy.
Already 3 bonus point victories for Kyven Gadson as he seeks his first national championship. He tries to finish off a mission that he set out on. He's got a shot to win his first title.
I'm walking out and then like fire shoots up. Like how that caught me off guard. I'm like, all right. The fire shoots up again. I'm like, yo, like, let me just run. Because like this fire is like startling me a little bit. I get up on the stage and I do like the stomp and take my shirt off and I'm like, let's get it. Let's do it, you know?
Talk about the significance of the freshman. Snyder beating the #1 ranked and NCAA champion Cox from Missouri last night.
They really went at it right away. Kyle's not a guy that's gonna hold back.
Early on in the match, it was just like giving some like shallow shots, but physical, club, keeping them kind of off you because I felt like he really needed to get his hands on you to score.
Here is Snyder trying to get away from Gadson, and he does. He's on the board first to start the second.
Get to opportunity, he goes fake, he fakes, and then he goes post to high crotch to my lead leg.
And he's consistently working on that right side so he can get a slide by, but nice shot here by Snyder, getting in that leg.
Coach Jackson like, go! And I hit the step around and
Gadson back up to 2 feet, trying to get the takedown, and he does! Trying to get the pin, he did! Kyven Gadson's mission is over!
he hit the mat pretty quick and it was just like, yo, it's done, like, we did it. And it was just like it just like kind of like exploded.
Wrestling can promise 2 things, and 2 things only, heartache and pain. That's what wrestling can promise you. He had gone through the heartache, he had gone through the pain, so then to go through all of that, and then come out on top of that with a national championship in his senior year against a very capable competitor, you know, I was overjoyed for him. It overwhelmed me, and it really took over me where I actually, you know, got pretty emotional, shed a lot of tears, and, you know, he had to kind of comfort me in that moment. He's like, Coach, you're supposed to be cheering, not crying.
This is awesome. We worked for this. My dad, my mom, everyone, we worked for this.
What's it feel like?
I just want some ice cream, man. I just want some ice cream.
I just want some ice cream, man. I just want some ice cream. And then I bolt off and I'm like, I'm a bad man.
We'll find out if there's any back there.
And Kyven Gadson,
His head coach.
I remember it vividly, and that was one of my proudest moments.
They said they showed my mom afterwards. I was not my mom. That's my ESPN mom. My mom even had on a Mama Gadson shirt that I had made for her. Oh, this is his mom, Dr. Augusta, Gadson. I'm like, hey, yo, who's gonna tell him? like, who's gonna tell him? Yeah, not my mom. I have a daughter, Haven, and she's 4. She enjoys the ice cream that came out of it.
And he's a sweet tooth guy, so when he said, I want some ice cream, he wasn't kidding. He was looking to get a bowl as fast as he could get one, and any other sweets he could probably get a hold of as well.
It was really fun, and even just like the opportunity to create my own ice cream was like a blast of experience. There was definitely something delicious that came out of it, for sure. I'm super grateful and I have a ton of gratitude for my time at Iowa State, being a Cyclone and living out that dream.
We've seen him overcome things that most people don't overcome. I'm just proud of him. I love him to death. He's like a son to me.
And I try to continue to move that forward or pay it forward in the way that I carry myself and live my life daily.
It's a story that can be shared at many different levels with many different kids, and it's inspirational. And I think it's probably one of the best stories that wrestling has.